The Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project, or DVRP, has 4 main components. We won't get into all 4, as this video focuses on just one initiative under Component 2 called the National Spatial Data Infrastructure, or NSDI.
Component 2 of the DVRP is focused on improving decision making to improve resilience and to improve adaptation to climate change using data. And a lot of that data is geospatial in nature. So many of the activities on the DVRP are geared towards this. This has included the procurement of lots of hardware and software for the various government agencies who need to use geospatial data for decision making.
NSDI is a mechanism using policies, standards, and resources to collect, coordinate, and share information from Geographic Information Systems, or GIS.
So the usual components of an NSDI consist of hardware, software, data, people, and standards. So the hardware consists of any hardware that you use. It could be anything from a handheld GPS device, a phone, a laptop with software that displays maps.
GIS is a computer system which uses geographic data for public and private stakeholders, such as private companies, policymakers, and even first responders to make better decisions when planning. Multiple government departments and private sector agencies would capture, store, and share geographical data with each other.
I look at the NSDI as a one-stop shop place for mappers, for mapping, for geography. And so the plan is to use whatever data that might be relevant.
Geospatial data could be used for anything. It could be used to develop proper road networks.
I think the most common use that we're currently interact with, whether here or overseas, would be using things like Google Maps in order to find the best possible route.
So in 2021, while I was doing the GIS training, we had to come up with a scenario, a use case for the department. And what I ended up settling on was to use GIS to answer the question of, is the Soufrière fire station dangerously isolated? So based on its location and the time that it would take for any of its closest sister stations to respond.
Could be used to do something like a demo of where would be floodplains and what would be the effects of flash flooding in specific areas around Saint Lucia. It also could be used into developing better housing schemes. We can actually showcase what is known as informal housing and find better ways to provide better drainage, better road networks, and provide better utilities.
Industries such as energy, agriculture, and water would be affected by the new technology.
We provide data, like I said, analysis for farmers, for different divisions in the ministry, for planning.
We have many data sets, as I mentioned, which include satellite imagery, information on our road network, information on hazard exposure in Saint Lucia, even the boundaries of communities, the information that the Central Statistics Office is collecting right now for the census is also very important in terms of knowing how many people live where and the demographics of these various areas.
Because what we do is we collect data on various social and economic variables, and that would include population information, labor force information, etc.
St. Lucia procured the services of 2 organizations from the Netherlands to help set up an NSDI, Cadastre International and KU Leuven. Cadastre is a government mapping agency and a land registry, while KU Leuven is an academic and research facility.
Well, in Europe you have Inspire, it's a European data infrastructure, and in Europe it was complicated because we have a lot of countries within the European Union, and the European Union wants to have like one big data set for the whole of Europe. So we have a lot of experience with all the problems that can happen by sharing and combining geospatial data.
We are now working together with Department of Physical Development and Urban Renewal on the further development of a spatial data infrastructure in Saint Lucia. And in essence, it means making sharing of geospatial information possible and improve it.
So we are not setting it up ourselves. The idea is that Saint Lucia does this, and we help them, we facilitate it. But of course, when the project is done, the infrastructure has to continue. So that's why we learn the people in Saint Lucia to do this instead of doing it ourselves.
We have worked developing the NSDI not only in the Netherlands but also in multiple European countries like Bosnia and Herzegovina, Albania, Macedonia, Moldova currently.
The spatial data infrastructure in the first place gives a system where everybody can see what data is available. And then data can be open, but it can also be protected. But at least you know that the data exists, and you know where to find it. For the open data, this will be available through services, and these services will be usable not only by public organizations but also by private companies and even by the general public.
And once fully implemented, allows agencies in government as well as private sector to easily share data across a common set of standards.
Another source of data that we would most definitely consume has to do with road networks, because our job is to get from point A to point B.
According to GIS supervisor Alana Francois George, the system started as an asset management tool for the utility company.
So we started off with one data capture crew who would be out in the field every day, and we started with a personal geodatabase. We have since moved from that to 2 data capture crews, and we run an enterprise-wide system now. So staff who are not directly related to GIS also can view our data for their own purposes. So say for a member in the trouble call section can pull up the GIS data if a customer calls to give a fault report, and the customer is able to identify the pole that they are connected to by the label on the pole. The trouble call operator is able to pull up the location on the map and see exactly where the person is calling from.
As with all newly introduced technology, opportunities are made available for entrepreneurs, like Managing Director of Mapit Solutions, who created the upcoming platform for the Saint Lucia Fire Service.
It manages the entire operations within the Saint Lucia Fire Service, from the time a call comes into the fire service to the time the firemen are dispatched to their different locations, to the work that they do in the field, and when they come back to office to do the assessments and to have those reports generated.
The system would improve country planning, strengthen collaboration between government departments and private sector, and save countless lives in a natural disaster.
Our data goes towards the support of different policies of the other governmental agencies. One of our primary users is the Department of Equity, the Ministry of Equity, formerly Social Transformation. They use a lot of our data to able to support the policies that they are putting into place to help the different communities.